Everybody, and welcome to our day early comic review video. I'm Jason,
I'm Andy.
and we're with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, where every Monday after the comics have been received by our store, we board them, then we divide them up, and we read all the ones we can't wait to read,
hmm
and then we do this video. We call it a spoiler light video, meaning we're going to tell you all about the first appearances and major collectability reasons you might want these books. But more than that, with a lot of the number ones, we're going to go over what they were about, the art style. We're going to try to connect the people who want these books with the books themselves.
hmm
I mean, there's always like 30, 40 new books out every week. So we do this as sort of a shorthand guide to when you go in your comic store. Now, although this is a little bit of a light week, I think we're only going to be going over maybe about 18 regular
hmm
books. Whereas usually we do like 24, 26. We are also showing off all the local comic shop day books. So this Wednesday is local comic shop day. It is a yearly event where they publish special editions of books. So it's not like necessarily a new comic altogether, but
hmm
it'll be a foil edition. They're all very limited editions, so we'll do that towards the end of the show today. So without further ado, let's jump in.
Yeah, because I have a big week this week for many reasons.
You
Uh,
do.
yeah, so the way this worked out, I have been, if you don't know, I'm an artist on a comic artist, and I've been working on Star Wars with Dark Horse for a little while now, and both of the projects I've worked on came out in the same week. So this is, I get like a super Christmas or something.
I mean, convenient for everyone who's going to show up wanting you to sign them now. Again,
Yeah.
they don't have to do two different weeks. Just
Exactly, yeah. I can do one giant signing. So, to show off what I had come out, we have Star Wars Hyperspace Stories number 3. And this is actually the variant cover. We did not get in our A covers this week, but those are on the way. So,
yeah, they've been delayed by a day. We ordered a massive amount of them, and I guess that was too much. And UPS is like, well, it's going to take an extra day to get in all those
yeah.
A covers. At least the Bs are here for sure.
And the other book I had come out was Star Wars Tales from the Rancor Pit. This is a hardcover book. So I'll go over just real quick about them and kind of the excitement of getting to do these. So the first book I actually did was Tales from the Rancor Pit. And that one, this was originally supposed to come out closer to Halloween because it's kind of a spooky book. It is written by Cavan Scott, who is one of the architects over at Lucasfilm now for a lot of their storytelling. But this one is about Jabba the Hutt has a prisoner uh, holding them over the Rancor pit, and this prisoner is trying to buy some time and tell Jabba stories to maybe get out of this situation. I worked on the second story in here, so there's Nick Brokenshire, who has been doing stuff with the IDW Star Wars and now with Dark Horse, does the kind of framing story. We also have Juan Samu working on this one and Rafael Perez. And I do the second one. It's a High Republic story about Ty York. So if you read Star Wars High Republic Monster of Temple Peak, it's that character. She's a Jedi monster hunter. Such a fun thing to get to draw that. Make up some kind of almost werewolf Hulk versions of some Star Wars species, which was really, really cool. But I'm very excited about that. And then this one, so Star Wars Hyperspace Stories is going to be a 12 issue maxi series with kind of a loose thread that runs through all of them. If you've been reading it, you'll start to see what that loose thread is. This one is a story about Poe Dameron and Finn as they are trying to get supplies for the new rebellion. And it's kind of a train heist type story against the First Order. This was so much fun to work on. This was my first kind of full um, issue, and this is written by Cecil Castellucci, I believe. Castellucci. And this is really fun. I have been a lifelong Star Wars fan. That's kind of my number one thing in life. So this is full of all the references and fun stuff I could pour into an issue. I mean, it's if you're a big Star Wars fan, you'll probably notice some little background stuff or characters or species that will make you really excited to see. So I'm very excited. But both of these are out this week. I think we're going to do kind of a uh, soft signing on
Wednesday
Wednesday.
for everybody who comes in normally and doesn't
Yeah,
want to wait.
yeah, and then we'll be doing probably a bigger signing closer to our store's anniversary.
Yep.
Um,
Our store's anniversary is in two
yeah,
weekends. So we know a lot of people from further away
yeah,
will be coming through, and we know they're going to bug you for
yeah.
signatures. So we're just going to do another one then too.
Yeah, so very excited about this. I've got another one in the works for Hyperspace Stories right now. But yeah, both of them came out on the same day, which was really, really cool. And want to let you know about them. I believe this one is 1999 for this hardcover too.
So I know some of you watching are thinking, "Hey, I want a signed copy." So what I have to say is, we are working on a really good website that won't be ready in time for this. Like next year, I promise it'll be as easy as going to a website. It'll be right there. You'll click, you'll pay, no problem.
Mhm.
We're very close on that. For now, though, we're gonna add something in the YouTube comments, a way to contact us. It's going to be a little more old school,
Yeah,
but if you really want one, we will have it where there will be a way. You may have to just, email or
email or
call
something.
or a little bit old school, but we're almost there.
You have to
We're
send a addressed letter notarized
with
to the
some
store.
smoke signals.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, very exciting week for Star Wars, for Andy, for us, and just really, really cool.
yeah. There's more big Star Wars stuff coming up too. Like one of the biggest ones of the year. That's not the one I worked on.
Okay, as much as I want to start the show with Harley Quinn, you'll have to hang around for that because there's something really cool in this. I'm actually going to start the show with Doctor Strange Fall Sunrise #1. This is a four-part series by Arter Writist, Writist,
Order and Ritus.
writer artist Trad Moore with coloring by Heather Moore. So, those of you who read Silver Surfer Black, if you like that, you're going to like this as well. Is it the same? Well, it's the same person doing it. And so, if you're in it for that art style, you're going to love it. I would say it's a little more challenging of a read. It's a little more interpretational. The story, at least in the first issue, is not as linear. Doctor Strange wakes up in this strange land. I mean, could Tradmore do anything other than a strange land?
Yeah.
His art style is awesome. I'm just going to break away to say I'm such a fan of Tradmore's art style. It's sort of like a mix of hallucinatory art with Salvador Dali, maybe like a hint of MC Escher.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way I could describe it. So once again, if you've read Silver Surfer Black, you know what to expect. So the art style is incredible. Doctor Strange wakes up in a strange land. Funny to say. And he doesn't quite remember who he is. He's trying to remember who he is. He's trying to remember why he's there. Is he dead? Is he not dead? I don't feel like this really links in with Death of Doctor Strange, however.
Mhm.
It's a lot of like personal stuff. But as he figures out who he really is in a weird world that he starts to figure out. He starts to kind of pull himself together, remember that he's Sorcerer Supreme,
Mhm.
remember he's supposed to be defending Earth. By the end of the issue, the story starts to get a little linear. Some new characters appear, so there are some first appearances, but I feel like these first are only for this storyline, so I wouldn't make a big deal of those. And by the end of the story, you kind of meet them and you get a sense, okay, now they're going to this city, this land where the real tale's going to happen. This is more like introduction to the
Mhm.
storytelling, how Strange thinks, and just the landscape before the real story sort of
Mhm.
takes effect. So that's what's going on in Doctor Strange Fall Sunrise #1 of 4. And then we have some variants. Here is the Johnson variant. Here is the Peach Momoko variant.
We've got a very unique look in this one,
The last one I'm going to show,
or just
or
how
the
he looks in the book
oh,
with
in the
the
book,
longer hair and
yes, yeah, they keep calling him the tall, thin man in this book too. That's what the people around here. This is the Ron Lim and Silva variant.
I was very interested to check that one out, especially because Silver Surfer Black was such a even color wise a pretty monochromatic, but with some crazy art, and then with the colors kind of pop. This just looks psychedelic.
Heather Moore's coloring is awesome, and I mean, I found Silver Surfer Black to look psychedelic too,
Oh,
but
yeah, yeah.
yeah, it continues on with that.
Okay, next up for me is a new tie-in with Dark Crisis. This is Dark Crisis: The Dark Army. This is a one shot, but I have to say this is one of the most fun tie-ins I have read so far. So what this one is about is Damian Wayne. Oh, real quick, I want to say that Mark Wade is the kind of main writer on this that kind of like kicks it off. So it is fantastic, but it's during the big battle that's going on in Dark Crisis, the main series, where all of the heroes are fighting the kind of dark controlled versions of all of the villains that Pariah has in his chains, and they're kind of like mind warped and all of that. Well, Damien has an idea how to stop them. And so Damien kind of looks across the battlefield and goes, I need to put together a team real quick. Who am I going to get? And so he goes, Power Girl, she's going to be my muscle. Dr. Light. And then he's like, I need some brains. And this is one of the funniest parts in it. And he looks and there's a panel of Frankenstein, Booster Gold, and Red Arrow. And he goes, guess I'm the brains. It's really, really funny. So I won't give away what his plan is, but it does. Oh, and the other character he pulls in is Sideways, character we have not seen much of
Right.
since the DC's New Age of
Yeah,
Heroes.
absolutely.
He's very, if you don't know who he is, he kind of looks like Spider-Man. He's got Spider-Man's personality, but he can create like portals to jump
Jump
through.
around.
So he needs all of those for this plan, and it does involve him leaving this Earth and going into the newly created multiverse that has just been reconstructed to one of my favorite Earths that is super kooky. If you've read some DC series from, I think they had a series in the 90s, but there was one where maybe the Justice League were actually gorillas, so we get some of that, but it's a really fun team up of unlikely characters that ends up revealing something about one of the characters that kind of catapults them into a new league of how powerful they are. You'll have to see which of this group it is, but it's pretty surprising, and they end up being kind of one of the biggest ways of defeating these kind of mind controlled villains. So really fun issue. We've got several writers and artists on it, but like I said, it's kind of spearheaded by Mark Wade. Freddie Williams does the art for that as well. So very fun issue. Oh, and I didn't even mention the biggest part of this is the first appearance of Red Canary.
The first full
First full
appearance.
appearance other than her eye in that one issue. But she plays a pretty big role in this. And the way Damien treats her is pretty horrible. Just him being like, never saying her name right and being like, what are your powers? And she actually gives like kind of a rundown of what her thing
I was
is.
gonna ask, what are how are they canary powers, like white canary sort of?
They are not, but she has her
Interesting.
reason for being a canary.
Okay.
But Damien the whole time is like, you're useless, and all this. And of course, she turns out not to be useless. She is a super cool character. So this is not a cameo. This is a full first appearance where she has a pretty heavy hand in the goings on of this. And I'm really looking forward to seeing her stuff coming out of this too, because they set up a really, really cool character. So if you want to learn more about Red Canary, this is the book to get. And you'll see on the variant cover for that, this is the Fold variant with
Yeah,
Red
I
Canary.
like her character design and
Yeah.
outfit, so I'm gonna grab a few of those just because, like, when
Yeah.
there's a character design that stands out.
Yeah. She also just doesn't take crap from Damien at all and gives it just as good as he gives it. So very, very cool. If you have been picking up the one shots, great, grab this one too. But also, if you haven't, I still think this stands alone as a really fun, like team story of a very unique team going on a mission. And I know a lot of those characters too are going to be big coming up in like Lazarus Planet. Everything we've seen that Red Canary and Sideways and Power Girl, they're all going to play a big role in that.
Okay, so I read Once Upon a Time at the End of the World, issue number 1. This is by Jason Aaron. with most of the interior art is done by Alexandra Tefensky, but some of the interior art is also done by Nick Dragotta. Sort of like a little mini story at the end. So let's take a look at the cover. We have two people in a post-apocalyptic waste world in a rowboat, and it looks like they're kissing through their gas masks. So this doesn't exactly happen, but it does sort of frame what you think you're going to be reading about. So the interior art is very well represented on this cover. If you think that looks cool, if you want like that dirty, dingy
Mhm.
post-apocalyptic world where there's pretty much nobody. Okay, we're talking about a world where there's irradiated mutants. You hear about them, you don't really see them. There's next to no one. So this story is about a boy who is living in a tower where he has all these levels of traps and all these different weird rooms. He has a safe room that's like just filled with pillows. It seems like he's lost a little bit. His parents raised him. You get the sense that they're dead. That's semi-confirmed. Well, anyway, anyone who gets close to the tower, he was taught by his parents to kill because but he's not like a brooding killer type though. He's kind of like a nice kid who just is taught to do this.
Yeah.
Well, outside there is a figure that is fighting some mutant thing, and he's like, "Well, you're getting near my building, I'm gonna kill you." But a mask comes off, and it's a girl, a young girl about his age. I'd say they're both sort of like teenagers, maybe like 16-year-olds. And he has not seen a girl in ages. It's hard to tell even when. Well, that causes him not to take the shot. And, one thing leads to another where she ends up in the building and they kind of team up for a little bit. And he shows her around, and you learn that she's had this very tough life on the outside, doesn't trust anyone. And he's had this sort of sheltered life with, if you can call it sheltered,
Yeah.
very lonely life. Well, I'm not going to tell you where it goes, but I will say, will he be able to convince her to stay in the safety of his world, or will she insist that they go out into the regular world? You'll have to read to see where it goes. But a good, strong first issue. Good, two good characters, a really neat world, good art. So I think really my description is it. If that sounds good to you, it's your sort of thing. If you've read too many things like that, there's definitely a lot of post-apocalyptic out there, then maybe not. But Jason Aaron, he's an excellent writer. So
So is the Dragotta part a separate story?
glad you bring that up.
Okay.
So yeah, so I forgot to mention. So once the main story is over for then, meaning it's going to be continued, it's our main story. There is like a maybe 3-4 page secondary story that says years later, and it just jumps into the future of at least one of the characters, and that's done by Dragotta. So it's like I think the main story is here's how they got there with little snippets of, oh yeah, and here's where it's all going to go.
It's
So
pretty
yeah,
interesting.
yeah, I haven't seen a narrative like that
Mm.
lately, so I thought that stood out. So as far as the variants, they're all done by Tefenchgi. I'm probably just mastering that name. Tefenchgi, I think. So all the variants are done by the interior artist. Here is the first one. And then there's a one per store variant as well. We are selling to our customers for $25.
Okay, next up for me, you're going to be getting a lot of Star Wars from me, so I've broken it up over things so we're not just doing a big chunk. But this could be the biggest uh, book, at least for this part of the year. For the next 6 months, I'd say. This is Star Wars Revelations #1.
It's just a one shot.
It's just a one shot written by Mark Guggenheim, and so it's if you know your Marvel Point One issues are
Marvel Timeless.
Marvel Timeless. They called multiple things, but essentially, Marvel has done this for quite a while with their mainline superhero continuity, where it's kind of they find a way, in a very narrative way, to give you a hint of what's coming up. Like with Timeless, it was Kang, and he was seeing
Right.
future. Well, in this Darth Vader, it gets kind of a summons by the Eye of Webbish Bog. So if you've read the Darth Vader series from Charles Soule, you'll know this character, but he was actually from a deleted scene from Rise of Skywalker where he is on Mustafar, and he's kind of this very unknown entity. You don't really know his power level. You get a hint in this that like he's not someone to mess with. He's one of those like old creatures of the universe. But in this, he calls to Vader and he's like, "I've got stuff to show you." And Vader's like, in the typical Vader attitude, like, "Whatever." Like, whatever you show me, I have the complete ability to change it because I'm Vader. But we'll have to see if that's true because I won't give you everything that he reveals in this because that is for sure the fun of this book is those page turns to see what is like, oh my gosh, can you believe this is a possible thing that's coming? Um, it does kind of hit on each of the ongoing books. You can tell that from the cover. So Star Wars, Bounty Hunters, Dr. Aphra, and Darth Vader are even Yoda, but
Han and Chewie are on there too.
Han and Chewie. So all of kind of Star Wars' main books going on right now are touched on. So the first one, I'll give a hint that Webbish Bog shows Vader Sabe, who has been kind of his partner for a while, who is the handmaiden and look-alike of his former lover Padme, and that she may actually be taking a darker turn and donning a new mantle. We'll have to check it out. It's like the second or third page in it, and already I was like, okay, this is awesome. Um, Along with that, uh, this does have a through narrative as well, because the eye kind of talks about that all of these things have been going on in all the different books, even currently, are connected. And one of the things, and I have to say this because it's not really a spoiler, but it is a way of telling you about a first appearance. That there has been, it seems like around the time of the Clone Wars, a droid that was made named Jack Sigma. And a lot of this book follows, he keeps popping back into it because he actually, in that timeline, started a droid revolution that seems like he is potentially going to be the big bad for a lot of upcoming Star Wars comics. Who knows? Could be more, but a lot of this book is how he has survived through all the time and been put in different bodies to become what is potentially the downfall of everything that Vader's created and the rebellion and everything. So the other things we see is we learn who, if you can kind of decode it, which is not too hard, who this mysterious frozen in time Sith Lord that they mentioned in Hidden Empire #1. If you read it and you know some your Star Wars comics, you will figure out who that is going to be brought back. And yeah, without going through everything else, uh, we have Luke facing off against what's going to be one of the big threats coming up. Uh, yeah, it's a really fun issue. This does also have, I know we teased it in a previous one, the idea that we had our first cameo of Iden Versio and Inferno Squadron last week in, I believe was it Darth Vader? Or no, it was Crimson Empire or Hidden Empire #1. But I would say this is not necessarily then the first appearance. This almost feels like a second cameo because it's in kind of a amorphous telling of the events going on, but I would still count it as a bigger cameo than the previous one. So that's something to keep in mind. Overall, if you've enjoyed all the Star Wars books going on, this is a definite pickup because it does kind of set you up for next year's storylines through all the Star Wars books and tons of surprises. Even one of your classic pages like Timeless had, where it's just a two-page spread of craziness that you can kind of dissect and what characters are doing what, that really has some interesting nuggets in it. So that is Star Wars Revelations #1.
Yep. At first appearance, you said his name was Ajax Sigma,
Yep.
new big villain droid, a
Yes.
subjugated droid who's, yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
kind
good
of
villain
seems to
idea.
be rallying and kind of has that like um that mindset of like, oh, a sentient trying to tell me what to do, like that like anti human
Yep.
or sentient being thing.
He's gotta start calling them meat bags.
No, I was just saying HK-47. We've got the Brian Hitch variant for that. It's really cool if you look in his reflective eyes. And we have a Peach Momoko cover with Dr. Afro, where there's a lot that is hinted about what's coming up for Dr. Afro as well. So all the books are touched on. A really, really fun read.
Okay, cool. I get to talk about this one now. So, Harley Quinn issue number 24. This, of course, is by Stephanie Phillips with interior art by Matteo Lolli. And let's look at the cover. So, Harley is basically about to, it looks like, sort of torture some answers out of Zaz. This does happen in this book, but I got to tell you guys, there is a first cameo appearance at the end of this book that I didn't expect. So this is a little bit of a spoiler as to something that happens in it. So if you don't like spoilers, skip ahead. But there is a first cameo of appearance of the Harley who laughs. I kid you not. Full panel. They're there. As to why they're there, well, why they're there kind of makes sense too, but how they're there, I don't know. But it is a version like Batman Who Laughs of Harley. Harley Who Laughs is in this book. First cameo appearance. Full on. You can see the outfit, all in color, one full panel at the end of this issue. So big reveal. I was shocked. I showed Andy right away. I was like, wow, look at this. Okay, so Harley has been investigating her own murder. Somebody killed her several issues back that started this sort of plot line, and she got brought back to life with the Lazarus Pit. So that's how she's able to do that. She's not a ghost, none of that stuff. Well, this issue, like all the issues that Phillips has been writing, very funny. I've really enjoyed this series, like thoroughly. So Harley kidnaps Zaz, who is a killer in Gotham, a known killer. And he's like, "Why'd you not me? You know, like I didn't do it." And she's like, "You know what? You're connected with all the killers in Gotham, and you're the only one I was sure didn't do it because you're the
Hmm.
sort of killer that only kills people at random. And this couldn't be random; it was planned too well. You know, which that's so mind bending to think.
Yeah.
She kidnaps the killer who couldn't do it because maybe he knows
Mm.
something." And it kind of works out. And, you know, her dialogue's so funny in these. But she even takes him to a crime scene. She dresses up like Sherlock Holmes. She puts him dressed up like Watson, still tied up in a chair, is trying to force him to do the accent. You know, it's just a delight to read the thing. But they do come upon a cloaked figure who is the real killer. I won't say who, but I already spoiled it earlier in this review. So for anyone who skipped ahead, you don't have to hear it again.
Yeah.
But you get to that last page, she rips the cloak off, and there it is. I wish I could show you, but that's just not how we do the
Mm.
show. So for those of you who like to pick up first appearances and all, grab it. I saw it. I told Andy, "Oh, this is going to be a toy."
Yeah.
Now, how long will this character be around? Is it really them? Maybe somebody's in some very elaborate disguise. I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
not going to promise you this is the next big thing, but it shocked me, and I
Yeah.
thought it was pretty cool. And I'm very interested to see where it goes in next issue. And I was also excited because I haven't seen any site talk about this.
Mhm.
I love it when we read the things on Monday and we find all the things that nobody
Yeah.
else knows about because most places do not read their books as early as we do or as thoroughly as we do. So I'm very proud of that. All right, so here is the variant. Here is the John Boy Myers 90s homage variant for Harley Quinn number 24.
Awesome. Is that the only variant you had?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
it. Yep.
Okay, next up is another big issue. This time, wait, I'm gonna. Yes, backwards. I'm gonna talk about Amazing Spider-Man. This is Amazing Spider-Man number 14. Now, this is a big issue because we are just getting into the dark web stuff. It even says, I think up here, spinning the dark web. And that's kind of what this is recreation of what dark web the event is going to be. You see the first meeting of Ben Riley as Chasm meeting Goblin Queen Madeline Pryor in Limbo. So you see that coming together and their kind of mutual interest in how those may line up to start this dark web event. The clone thing is brought up, all of that, which is really interesting. And we also get, because this is broken up into several stories, different artists kind of take on this. So we have Michael Downing doing the first one, which is a basically just a conversation centered around um, Ben Riley's girlfriend that was, has been to jail and has had a lot of um, aliases over time and everything about how she feels about all of this. Then we have the story with Ben Riley going into limbo, drawn by Kyle Hotz. And if anybody can draw just creepy limbo demons and everything, Kyle Hotz kills that one. It is really creepy and even makes the chasm suit just look monstrous.
He's so good at drawing swirling
Yeah,
things.
swirling and like just like nobulars and
Yeah.
stuff. We have a story by or art in one of the stories by Terry Dodson, and the key thing about this one is that is your first appearance of Hallows Eve. You'll see her on one of the variant covers, but she is a new uh, villain, presumably for Dark Web, but her design is so good, I could see her going a lot further than that. But you see her actual creation, and you'll have to read it to find out what that means. But there's even some hints that maybe what her powers are going to be, or they're kind of maybe a trick that happens. You'll have to find out, but it involves more of the tropes of Halloween, like multiple masks that come off. Where did the mask come from? It's another dimension or something. I don't know. But finally, the last story in it, which kind of connects to a previous one about someone who passes Ben Riley on the streets and is like, "Hey, you're Peter Parker." He's like, "No, I'm not Peter Parker." He's like, "Yeah, I knew your aunt." He's like, "I don't have an aunt." Like, it's and that really frustrates Ben Riley considering their issues they've been having. And this final story is drawn by Ryan Stegman. So great seeing Ryan Stegman back on some Spider material. And you see what happens when Chasm goes face to face with the guy who was saying, "Hey, you're Peter Parker." Really funny, but very dark. So I think the big thing about this is showing these variant covers to show you Hallows Eve. You may have seen pictures online, but here is the Ed McGuinness design variant, and now I understand after reading it. You can see she's got two masks in her hand. Now I won't reveal who she is, but you do know who is under the garb in this, who the real identity of Hallows Eve is. But that's just the beginning of the craziness. Then we have this Kyle Hotz variant, which I mean, look at that. You can see what his version of Limbo looks like. We have our Beyond Amazing variant, which is homaging that Romita Jr. cover. And then we have another Ed McGuinness variant. This one, not the design, but a little bit more of a traditional cover, but with Hallows Eve. And then we have this 1 in 25 Malieve variant that we're selling to our customers for $20. So, like we said, this is a big show of first appearances,
Yep.
and I think this is going to be a big one because whenever we talk about it a lot, whenever you see a design, you're like, "That's a good design." Those characters tend to stay around. Just look at Spider Gwen or Ghost Spider. She was one of the like first big ones. Where you're like, "That's a really solid design," and she has become even bigger. I think Hallows Eve has potential of being a big character.
The first appearances of superpowered people in Amazing Spider-Man, they always just fly off the shelf
Yeah.
once the masses hear about it.
Yep.
So, okay, so I read Midnight Suns issue number 3. Look at this awesome David Nakayama cover for the main. This is the main cover too. Just a really nice main cover on that one. So this is done by Ethan Sachs, is the writer, with Luigi Zagaria doing the art. So this has a few things in it. For one, the Midnight Suns get new outfits by the end of it, like new superhero outfits. They're sort of black and red. They look really, really cool, really good, and it's definitely like sort of a wow moment in the issue. So, new outfits, that's noteworthy.
They come
So
out of the dressing room and everybody claps and
there is also the first appearance of a new Tony Stark character. Now he's from another dimension, but he's like a magician Tony Stark. It's Tony Stark from a magic world where, his brilliance made him the best magician, and he's sort of a major character in this. So as far as what else it's about, we get some backstory of Agatha Harkness that relates to this Black Mirror that has to do with this end of the world scenario. And I'm not talking the Black Mirror TV show, like it's a literal, sort of black, negative, evil mirror. So we get some of that. Meanwhile, so Agatha, she banished the Midnight Suns to another dimension on purpose. She thought doing that would actually stop the end of the world. Well, they don't quite agree with her, so they're stuck in this other dimension where they have to fight their way out. Much to the delight of Blade, who finally gets something to hit. He's really happy about this. So that's generally what's going on in Midnight Suns #3. And we have our video game variant.
but those are not the suits they get.
No,
Okay.
they are not. This is just the variant for the video game.
Okay, what's up for me? I have Action Comics number 1049. Check out this beautiful cover. This is by Steve Beach. I remember first seeing this cover and be like, that is beautiful, with the whole family checking out the Fortress of Solitude. So this is continuing our story of the return of Kal-El, but like a lot of those, they're not necessarily like, oh, you've got to read them in order and all that. It's just kind of now that Superman has come back to Earth, what's going on with those characters. This one continues what happened in the previous one, where um, Lois has taken their new adopted children from Warworld to the zoo when they were suddenly attacked by new gods, mainly uh, Orion and I think Light Rays there and Metron, all of those, Caliban, because they don't want those kids around. They want to take those kids away, and we do find out in this maybe one of the kids or both have powers. Now it's still kind of questioned like what all that is about, but I feel like this is really building up those new characters, those kids that he picked up in the previous storyline. It's going to be pretty big characters going forward. So really fun issue as we lead to, yeah, this is 1049.
Yeah,
1050 is the big one coming out. So but also great cover. And then another great cover. This is the 90s cover where they're really playing off of the Superman mullet. So really fun one there.
Okay, so I didn't fully read this one because it's the end of this arc, and I have not been reading G.I. Joe lately, so I didn't want to just jump in. But this is still a really noteworthy issue. This is G.I. Joe, a Real America Hero, number 300. This is the final issue of the IDW series. 300 issues of this, and I think the license is moving over to Image Skybound after
I
this.
believe so.
This cover is just amazing, though. So this cover is by Jamie Sullivan, and on the front, it's a wraparound. We have all these Joes, and it just connects in with all these Cobra. I mean, just an amazing cover. I
That'll be
know
fun to pick apart and
people are gonna buy this, just because they're GI Joe fans, whether they've
yeah.
been reading the series in a while or whether they have the other 299 issues or not. This, of course, is written by Larry Hama with interior art by S.L. Gallant. So I just wanted everybody to know that this, just sort of remarkable 300th issue is
Yeah.
out. I love that A cover, but we have some good B covers as well. There is also Sullivan actually did a secondary variant with less characters. Just he wanted to do one just sort of more of a close up. I don't think that one is not wraparound. So that's the Sullivan B cover, and then we've also got the Diaz variant. A lot more action and energy. You got lightning in the background. And there's a 1 in 10 Royal variant we're selling for $15.
And I said there's more Star Wars and there's more Star Wars. So we have the start of a new maxi series. This is Yoda #1. So I believe this is going to be 12 issues long.
And that will make it the longest Yoda focused series ever written
If you
in
stack them,
comics.
they'll be taller than Yoda. That's a great achievement. But yeah, he's had one shots and little like stuff. I think back in the Dark Horse
Right, back in the Dark Horse
days.
days.
But this is really interesting. So I remember reading about this before and thought it sounded a lot like the Obi-Wan series, where it's kind of reflecting on Yoda reflecting on his life. That is somewhat true, but as the Obi-Wan one, I think was only 5 or 6 issues. This one is 12, so it looks like the stories we're going to get in this are multiple parts. Now, this begins with Yoda in exile on Dagobah, kind of a little given up. He's kind of just like, I just want to chill here.
Hmm.
I've everything I did before was I let everybody down. But there is a voice. It's kind of done in the blue Force Ghost bubble. That I mean, you don't see who it is. I'm assuming it's Obi-Wan, but I don't know. Who basically says like, "Hey, you got to get up and do some stuff." And Yoda's like, "No, I want peace now, peace and quiet in my home." And then he filmed something, an item that Yoda has in his house, and it says, "Do you remember this?" And then Yoda says, "Of course I remember that." And that's when we get into our story. So we are on a planet. It's kind of a um, beachy planet. You can tell there's a big ocean, but everything kind of revolves around the ocean. And we have two species. We kind of have a more native species that are a little bit smaller and just kind of domestic and all of that. And they are attacked by a pirate alien species that comes across the water and demands things from them. So we have kind of two kids. One of them is rebuilding like an old crashed ship that's there, and his name is Bree Minoran. Just wanted to note that there is a some first appearances in this. But when this attack starts, he puts out a. He's been building this enough; it can't like take off or anything. But he does have the communications working, where he puts out a distress signal that reaches Coruscant and the Jedi Council. Now, here's, I mean, me being a big Star Wars fan and always trying to like catalog things in my mind, I can't necessarily tell when this takes place because you see the Jedi Council, but the only recognizable member on the council is Yoda. So it's very interesting. We have only two named Jedi Masters on there. We have Jedi Master Dejuka and Jedi Master Sutan, and they're discussing this signal that they got, and they're like, "Do we need to do anything? We have bigger responsibilities than this." And Yoda's basically like, "Any cry for help is that's our job." And they're like, "Okay, well, we'll send somebody." Yoda says, "Nope, I'm going to do this." So Yoda is on a mission going to this planet to help this small race up against this kind of bulky pirate threat that's been attacking them. That's just like the first half of the issue. I won't give it away, but it does look like this story arc is going to be multiple parts. I'm guessing probably 3 issues if they're going to do like maybe 3 issue chunks telling a 12 issue story, or maybe 6 issues, probably pretty
Yeah, a
even.
lot of times it's 6 and 6 for trade paperback.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
you know,
But great first issue. Very, and it's you don't know it till you get one, but a very readable issue. And if you read one, you know what that means. It just flows. You're not thinking about reading it or the dialogue. It works. And that's written by Cavan Scott, and the art is by Nico Leon. And I highly recommend it if you enjoyed the Obi-Wan one, you're looking for a new one to jump into. Yoda is very well uh, realized in this. He's just kind of a force for good, especially in the flashback sequences. And it's very heartwarming. He's got his funny moments. Just a great issue overall. So, highly recommend picking up Yoda #1. And of course, it's got variants. So, this is the Coley variant. This little house. And we have a 1 in 10 movie variant. You'll recognize that. We're selling to our customers for $8.
Okay, so I read Detective Comics issue number 1066. This is the first part of the next continuing plot line because the last plot line, even though it is, I guess, over in collected form, it doesn't feel over. There's a
Mm.
lot of new characters that have been introduced to Gotham that are still around. There's a lot of things they just started. A lot happened, but this is just sort of continuing it. It doesn't feel like, oh yeah, and all that stuff was resolved. Let's move on. Um, so this, of course, is by Ram V with interior art by what was his name? Ray Spoiler. Reese Spurrier is the interior artist on this. So the last issue, it ended up where Prince Arzen and others, he was the main target. They would try to assassinate him, and Batman had to save him. And in doing so, he was sort of gravely wounded and ended up in the water, where he was saved by Jim Gordon, who is returning to Gotham. So it's been a few days. Jim Gordon's had to nurse Batman back to health while trying to not see who he is and everything.
Yeah.
They're still playing that game after all these years. Um, so that's a lot of what this is about. However, the main plot line is that Two Face is back. Okay, but this time it's secretly Harvey is sort of in control. It's really interesting where they're playing Two Face in this. Of course, the bad side of Two Face is taunting him and telling him, "Oh, you're pretending like you're in control, but how long can you keep this up? It's going to be me." But I mean, you just have to read it for yourself. But it goes a lot further into Two Face and with Two Face than I thought, to the point that by the end of the issue, you're going to be questioning: does he maybe have a third personality that's emerging?
Ooh,
So
three
yeah.
face.
Guess the coin can land on one side, the other, or
Yeah.
straight up and down. So pretty interesting. I mean, it really went places I didn't expect with Two Face in this. So that's generally what's going on in Detective Comics issue number 1066. We have a couple of great variants here to show you. Here is the J.H. Williams the third variant.
Variants for this series have been so
I
good.
know, yeah. Williams is like, oh, you want to get back to that like gothic, creepy, operatic stuff? No problem. He has just cranked out some nice variants that are that way. Here is the speaking of Kyle Hotz, this is Kyle Hotz and Dan Brown together on this variant.
Very cool. Classic.
Yep, but just a
Yeah.
reimagined picture of it. And then here's the 1 in 25 Doran variant. We are selling to our customers for $15.
Okay, next up, I don't have a whole lot to say about this because I haven't read it because I haven't opened it. These are still polybagged, but this is Batman Gotham Knights Gilded City #2. So if you've been playing the Gotham Knights game, this is the prequel series to that. But the thing people always want to know about this is the code inside. For this one, will get you new skin for Nightwing's Eskrima sticks. So yeah, that is Gilded City #2, and of course, if you get all of the codes, it unlocks something when you enter in the last code for the last issue. So I'm excited to read this all together, but just want to let you know that this is out this week along with the variant, and this is the Mike Perkins variant with that new old timey vigilante.
I have a quick one to go over also. So we're one of the stores that carry the Bad Idea stuff. This is the fourth week that Bad Idea is doing its second launching of comics. So only one out this week. It is Orc Island #4. So for those of you who are picking up the Bad Idea stuff, Orc Island #4 is out. This, of course, is by Joshua Dysart with interior art by Alberto Ponticelli.
Okay, and I've got Daredevil. This is Daredevil #5. So, I mean, the last issue was a biggie with the surprise wedding. Very, very kind of violent and weird wedding of Daredevil and Elektra. And now in this one, we pick up from that where they are basically kind of discussing, hey, we know we're going to go up against the Punisher. He's the leader of the Hand, we're the leader of the Fist. Uh, our paths are about to cross. We need to build up our army to face off against him. And they go, instead of getting, recruiting some of the Avengers or anything, they actually go to a prison of supervillains to try and recruit them, and doesn't seem like the Avengers are too excited about this. So we do know that there's going to be he's going to be facing off against Punisher coming up, and he's going to be on the Avengers' bad side. So we kind of see what makes that happen in this one. We also have the demonized variant for this. Works really well with Daredevil. And we have this 1 in 10 Shadow design variant. We are selling to our customers for $9, and he does have that new suit in this issue. So I'm not sure if you would call it the first appearance of the new Daredevil suit, but he's definitely wearing it in it. So he's kind of evolved into it. It's been like a piece at a time. He started wearing like the scarf and all this stuff in previous issues. So I guess this is kind of its final form in this issue.
All right, so I read Punchline, the Gotham game, issue number 2. So, for those of you who read issue number 1, I thought it was pretty good. This one, things really heat up. I thought this one was much better now that they kind of established in issue number 1 that Punchline was putting together this Royal Flush gang, that she was going to go up against the Kazagawa clan. Well, it starts happening in this. This issue has some really good action. It moves fast. And you get to see, like with Punchline, a lot of it is I just wonder how far she'll go.
Yeah.
She's a lot of talk, and you get the sense she'll go far. In this one, she starts going really far, like Joker crazy
Mm.
far in this one, which was really fun. So this is written by Teeny and Blake Howard with interior art by Gleb Melkinoff and Will Robson. Um, so yeah, like I said, she's put together a new Royal Flush gang. She goes up against the Kazagawa family because she's trying to take over the Ace Chemical Factory. We don't know why, but I mean, I'd probably want that in my back pocket. You know that just crazy stuff
They
comes
should
out
have
of there all the
steamrolled that
time.
place years ago.
Seriously, how that place stays open after all the terrible things. Um, but to further complicate things, Batman shows up. So, and I got ahead of myself. Batman is talking with Nightwing about his idea on who Punchline really is. Not her identity, but like how does she fit into things. And it's a really cool beginning because he basically says, well, whereas Harley was obsessed with Joker and it took her forever to get over that,
Hmm.
Punchline is the result of living in a city under the threat of Joker the whole time she was growing up. So she's not really obsessed with him. She is literally the Punchline to his setup. So I thought that was
Interesting.
a neat way for him to view it. And then the rest of the issue kind of proves this. And by the end, we see Punchline and her gang go up against the Kazagawas. We see Batman go up against Punchline. Punchline does some really messed up things. I mean, it's only issue 2. She can't get caught yet.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed this one. Issue 1 I thought was good. This one's much better. So I think everyone's been waiting for Punchline to do some cool stuff. This is the issue. So that is my mini review. And we've got some great variants as always. Here is the Derek Chu variant. He's been doing great covers with Punchline on it from the
Yeah.
beginning. I'm glad they brought Batman into this too.
Hmm.
You know.
We haven't seen too much Batman and Punchline and kind of what he thinks about her.
And then here is the Sozomeka cover, who of course has been doing all the Catwoman
Yeah.
covers, but here is the Punchline.
Okay, and before we do the
Local comic
local
shop
comic shop
stuff.
day, I did want to mention coming out is 8 Billion Genies number 6. These are books that we're still waiting on 2 boxes from UPS to arrive. So there's a few we have not got in, like the A cover to my Star Wars Hyperspace stories, but also we're waiting on 8 Billion Genies number 6. I'm very excited to read that. I'm sad that it didn't show up. And Department of Truth number 22 as well.
Yeah. Plus, we go over a lot of the comics every week, but we don't hit all of them. So there, of course, are other ones as well. So now we're going to show you the local comic shop day books that are available this Wednesday. These are usually very limited print run. You know, they'll print like 2,000 of them, which is not much. I mean, there's 3,000 some comic stores in the
Yeah.
world, so less than one per store. A lot of them are foil, but most of them are priced at like 9.99. It depends. They let stores kind of make their own pricing. So let's go ahead and show some off. I'll show the first one. So here is one you can pick up this Wednesday if your store ordered the local comic shop day stuff. It is a new version of Grimm #1, a new foil. So, which I think this was originally a variant cover for
Yeah.
the first Grimm, but it didn't have a foil. So, of course, this is the hit series by Stephanie Phillips with awesome interior art by Flaviano. I was just talking about how great Stephanie Phillips Harley is. So, I've enjoyed reading this one a lot. So, you can show up on local comic shop day, support your shop, and get an exclusive uncommon variant for Grimm #1.
And then I have Amazing Spider-Man number 13. So that's this issue, and this is an awesome cover done by Mobley, who is doing a couple of the ones I'm showing off today. So that is for issue number 13.
There's also a foil version of Door to Door Night by Night. This is the brand new series. Only issue #1 came out the other week by Cullen Bunn with art by Sally Cantorino. And it has to do with door to door salesmen who end up taking into their ranks this girl who turns out to be a demon hunter. And they find this out when they have to help her suddenly against a demon. So here's a foil version that will be out this Wednesday.
And this one, this is super nice. Like you said, this is that Batman and the Joker, the Deadly Duo, #1. Of course, this is the book written and drawn by Mark Silvestri, and this is a black and white sketch cover, but with foil accents. So this one, like you look at it, you're like, that's a deluxe book if I've ever seen one. Very nice, very premium looking. So, yep, issue #1.
Another local comic shop day book is a flashy foil version of Walking Dead Deluxe issue #50. Of course, Walking Dead Deluxe is reprinting the entire series of Walking Dead, and this is the special limited edition of issue #50 of that, obviously by Robert Kirkman and Charlie Adlon.
And then I have Spider-Man. This is for #2. This is the Dan Slott, Mark Bagley Spider-Man series, the end of the Spider-Verse storyline. And this is also a Mobley variant cover, this time with Miles Morales.
Okay, there is a special local comic shop day limited edition of
Yes.
upcoming book, The Illustrated Owl. Is this out yet, or does it come out this week, or?
I'm not sure. I know it's not out yet.
Okay, so this might be out before the regular one,
Yeah.
possibly, because I think don't we have another book that's like that? That's
Yeah.
so. Anyhow, the price on the back of it's 29.99. I can't promise what it'll be because I think with the Weird Al movie having been released on Roku to very good reviews, I watched. I thought it was hilarious. I think people are going to come running for this. So this is a ton of artists. Like I'm not going to even read it, but they list all the different artists who do art on this, and basically they're redoing some of his famous videos as you can see on the cover, Amish Paradise.
Yeah, they're like
So,
illustrating songs.
yeah, illustrating his songs. So it's a um, hardcover, limited edition just for local comic shop day. If you're interested in this one, I would run to your store,
Yeah.
call if they'll reserve it. I have a feeling this one's going to be more popular than how many were ordered.
Yep. Next up, this is a pretty exclusive one. I think a lot of people are going to want. This is the Demio cover for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, but this is the Ash Can. So that came out a couple of weeks ago where
Correct.
stores got just one Ash Can of it. It shot up in price. But this is, if you didn't get a chance to get that, which you probably didn't, you can get this. It's got about 12 pages of story and then a script in it as well. So getting ready, I just placed the orders for the actual #1 of the book, so that's be coming out in about a month. But if you wanted to get the ash can of that with this really cool Demio cover, that will be out on Wednesday.
Another one available is Born of Blood #1 by Merc Publishing. This is a special edition of it. It's got the local comic shop day logo at the bottom. And on the back, it actually says it is limited to 2,000. So, like I said, most of these were pretty limited print runs, but this one actually says it on the back.
Oh, apparently that's the same with mine because I have Miss Meow #1. This is the royal cover, and this one also says uh, only 2,000 copies.
And the last one I have to show off is Behold Behemoth #1, special edition for local comic shop day. This is by Tate Bromball with art by Nick Robles.
And then I have uh, Deathrage, the other Merc publishing, with this very similar to Deadpool character. This is the Edwards cover, and this is also limited to 2,000 copies.
Okay, so before we go, I will mention there are a few other ones that I'll just bring up now because, as Andy said, a few of our boxes are a little late.
Hmm.
There's an 8 Billion Genies local comic shop day version. There is one for I Hate This Place. It's a limited edition trade paperback of the first arc. There is the book I reviewed earlier, Once Upon a Time at the End of the World #1. That has a local comic shop day variant that we don't have yet. And lastly, Quick Stops, the new Kevin Smith
Smith, yeah.
series. So I believe that is all the ones that were pretty much available to order. Of course, we ordered some because we're as local comic shop day as it gets. So, but whether we're your store or not, just wanted to make sure you're aware of those. They're all available this Wednesday at stores that specifically ordered them, and not everyone did.
Hmm.
Just bear in mind the prices may be a little higher because they are limited print runs. They don't
Yeah.
have the big print runs, so they can't do the better pricing.
Yeah, and I don't think there's like a technical suggested retail price. It's kind of, yeah, like you said, store to store.
Still
It'll
strong.
vary.
Yep. All right. Well, thanks for watching. We hope we have done our job and we have properly told you about the books that are coming out this Tuesday and Wednesday. So when you go in your store, you know which ones you are most interested in. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Last I checked, we need, I think, 10 more subscribers to hit 2K. That
Yes.
was our goal for the year. We're almost there.
You know, the 10 of you that do that will be our favorites. Just saying. Can't help it.
It's the final countdown. Yes. All right. Well, thank you very much. And of course, we will be back on Friday with Comics from the Future. Even though Thanksgiving's this Thursday, we're going to make it work.
Yep.
We're gonna, even though Friday's Black Friday at our shop, we will deliver. So we'll be there. We hope you are too. And of course, for those of you who buy comics, Megan will be on our Whatnot, on our Infinity Flux Whatnot tonight, selling comics at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.